Hello, my name is Corbin Irwin, and this is a presentation for CYB 610 at Grand Canyon University. Today we're going to be looking at a Kioptrix 1 machine, and we're going to be using a Kali Linux machine to do several different scans, looking for vulnerabilities within the system. We're going to be using the Nmap to scan Kioptrix 1. We're going to be identifying vulnerabilities. We're going to be discussing the next step in basically arming those vulnerabilities, and then we'll also be discussing the flaw hypothesis. So the first scan that we did was a identifying ping scan. We used the ifconfig command to identify which IP address belonged to our Kali Linux machine, and then from there we used the nmap scan and then targeted a range of IPs, as we can see here. Once we did that, we were able to find a machine with the identified IP as 192.168.56.108, and it showed several open ports. This is most likely going to be our Kioptrix machine. So let's find some more information about it. Using that IP address, we pulled up a web browser and looked at port 80, and we were able to see this landing page, just a general landing page. So let's try to find some more info. Putting in an arbitrary address here, you can see the extension was etc. It kicked back this code, but it did give us some information. It showed that it's running Apache, it showed us the version, and then it showed us the port it's using. So some good information. Next, we're going to use the nmap-0 scan targeting the Kioptrix machine, and we're able to get some more information about the ports that are open, as well as the possible operating system version. This is an operating system scan. And then we're also able to see the network distance, and shows 1 hop, so there's no firewall present. Good information. Next, we're going to run a services scan. This is done with nmap-sv and then targeting the IP address. What it shows here is the ports that are open, the services that they are running, and then the versions that they're running. Of note is the Apache version, and that Samba is present as well on the 139 port. These are things we're going to be looking at a little bit later as we research more about the system. Next, let's get a little bit more intrusive. We did an intrusive scan here with the nmap-p-a followed by the IP address command. And this gave us a lot more information, such as the SSH host keys that we can see here, as well as several of the ports, more in-depth information again between Samba, Apache. We can see down here the SSL ciphers, and some script results down here as well. All of this can be useful. There's many different exploits we could possibly look at here, but let's find some more information first. Another scan that we did was the top port scan, which is done with the nmap-top-ports followed by the IP address command. This allowed us to take a look at all common ports, the top 20 common ports here. We can see some of the ones that we saw earlier are open, and we can see some that are closed. Nothing new as far as this machine goes, but this is a useful scan when you're looking at a machine. So we can also be specific with how we're targeting. So here we ran the nmap-a-p80 followed by the IP address. What this does is it targets port 80, and it gives us some more information with an intrusive scan. Here we can see there's a potential risky method of trace. We can get some more information, again, the Apache version it's running. We can see the mod_SSL version that it's running. This is going to be useful later. The OpenSSL version that it's running, and some other information about the test page. All great information that could be possible, present possible vulnerabilities for exploitation later on. Next, we're going to use an awesome command. It's the nmap CVE detection scan. This is done with the nmap-pn-script vol followed by the IP address command. What this does, it allows the nmap scan to match up possible vulnerabilities with CVE numbers. We can see here quite a few possible vulnerabilities were identified, as well as their CVE numbers. This is great for quickly identifying vulnerabilities and then being able to read up on them using the CVE numbers. So we gathered a lot of information, so let's talk a little bit about flaw hypothesis methodology. Flaw hypothesis methodology uses information about a system, such as specifications and documentation, to look for flaws. Analyzing the system allows for a list of hypothetical flaws to be created and ranked. Potential flaws are prioritized by likelihood of existence, ease of exploitation, and how much damage or loss of control they could cause if they were exploited. The prioritized list is then used to conduct penetration testing on the system. So basically creating a prioritized list of flaws and then testing based on that. In this case, we're going to use the hypothesis that due to several ports being open and exposed, as well as utilizing out-of-date software versions, it is possible to exploit these ports and take control of the system. Let's explore that a little bit more though. Next, we're going to use the Nikto tool to continue to map out the vulnerabilities present in the Kioptrix machine. Nikto allows us to quickly run a command and get a lot of information. We use Nikto-H followed by the IP address of Kioptrix to gather up all this information here. Of interest, what we were able to identify is the mod SSL version here seems to be out of date. Apache seems to be out of date, and it might be vulnerable to an overflow. So this is information that's important. Lots of other information here, such as possible PHP backdoors and other website directories that were found that could be useful too. Now, because we saw that the Samba version was present and our Apache was out of date, we decided to look further into that, and we are able to do that with Metasploit. Using Metasploit, we're able to find out which SMB version is actually being used, and we can see here that the version of Samba used is 2.2.1a. So using that information, we're now able to further map out a vulnerability map. And that leads us to this point where we're able to look at system flaws. Here are the two identified system flaws that we further explored. Samba trans to open overflow. An outdated version of Samba, pre 2.2.8a, allows the exploit to use the call trans to open function, which is available in trans 2c, to create a buffer overflow. This exploit allows attackers to launch arbitrary code and gain root access. We can find more information about that at CVE 2003-0201. So this one is a big one here that we found present. We were able to see that it could potentially be present with our Nmap scans, and then we verify the version that was present within the system using Metasploit. And then down here, we have another exploit that we found that might be able to be weaponized, which is the mod_SSL 2.8.4 exploit. An outdated version of mod_SSL, which is found in Apache pre 1.3.31. Which is present on both port 443 and 80 in this system, can be weaponized using the mod proxy hook function that can be exploited to run arbitrary code, giving attackers root access. More information about this exploit can be found in CVE-2004-0700. So these two are the ones that we explored further. There are other ones that potentially could be present, but each of these can be weaponized to give root access within this system. And we were able to find out all of that using our Nmap scans as well as a couple of other tools to further map out the vulnerabilities. These are the references that we used today. This is all the information that we used for this presentation. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.